Well, the annual Ag Policy Summit was held recently. The summit is one of those annual policy-focused programs presented by the Indiana Soybean Alliance's membership and the Indiana Corn Growers Association. It's an effort to, keep up on the latest regulations that may affect Hoosier farmers, new opportunities to export Indiana commodities, and of course the progress, or in a lot of cases we've seen lately, the lack of progress with the Farm Bill proposals. So my go-to guy for policy issues, Steve Howell, Senior Director of Industry Affairs for both the Indiana Soybean Alliance and Indiana Corn Growers. And Steve, I'm always grateful for the time you give me here at Midwest Ag. I gotta say, every time I get another piece across my desk lately about pushing to get the Farm Bill done this year, I don't want to be, doubting Thomas, but logically, I just can't see it happening. I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd count it a miracle if it happened. And maybe if the elections are favorable, it could be a good thing. But aside from your frustration, like the rest of us, where do you sit on the Farm Bill right now?
Hey, Rob, great to be with you today. We did have a very successful Ag Policy Summit last week. We did cover the Farm Bill. We didn't spend a lot of time on it because, frankly, we've spent a lot of time on it the past couple of years getting it developed, and we saw passage out of the House Ag Committee, which was very encouraging. Yeah. Even though we knew kind of the politics behind a lot of it, that it was still had a rough road ahead. But what we are very happy about, though, is the House version has a great number of our priorities that we've been pushing over the past couple of years. Increase in the reference prices, doubling of the market access program and the foreign market development program. So it's very encouraging to get a number of our priorities in that. However, a lot of politics goes on in Washington, as you may imagine, and the process has stalled out. However, we're going to keep pushing. Politics can change pretty fast.
But the problem is that we've got limited legislative days left, and that's why I'm so pessimistic that it's going to have to wait until 2025. The issue of the overdue Farm Bill has been beat to death to the point you made. So let's turn to other issues, because our policy organizations have been really busy this year advancing some issues that are really important to soybean and corn farmers, one of which is the biofuels tax credit. Now, in my mind, the way the EPA has approached this, it's either more of the Biden administration's electric vehicle agenda, or they really don't understand farming as well as they thought they did. Or I don't know, maybe a little bit of both, Steve.
Yeah, Indiana Corn Growers Association and the Indiana Soybean Alliance are constantly working on biofuels issues, both at the federal and the state level. The biofuels tax credit bill that we had last session, we did get a hearing in the House Ag Committee, which was encouraging. Did not take a vote in committee, but that's fine. It was not a budget year. But we do look forward to this next session to get a tax incentive for retailers to offer higher blends of biofuels, both ethanol and biodiesel. We know the story of biofuels, the importance it is to farmers to get that additional soybean crush and that additional corn grind. But it's also a benefit to our rural communities where a lot of this processing is happening. We've got ethanol plants and soybean crushers around the state. Those are in rural areas. That's good for our rural economy. And then it's also good for the consumer. It's cleaner fuel, oftentimes a lower cost fuel, more efficient fuel. So it's good all around. It's truly an investment. It is a tax incentive, but it's really an investment in Indiana because we grow the crop here, we process those corn and beans here, and we need to offer more of that fuel for Indiana consumers.
Yeah. Well, the good news is we hear that there are additional blender pumps available online here in the state. Listen, monitoring EPA's herbicide strategy is another big policy issue. One comment from the Ag Policy Summit that I thought really kind of illustrated the frustration with it, quote, right now the lawsuits are playing out faster than the registration process is. So give us an update on where we're at on the herbicide strategy.
Sure. The EPA is required to follow the requirements of the Endangered Species Act. They have not done that according to the letter of the law. So they've been challenged. They've lost in court. They've been court ordered to address the issue. They need to consider endangered species when they register or re-register crop protection products. We don't have a problem with protecting species and certainly endangered species. But if we're going to put limits on pesticides, they've got to be reasonable. We still need those products to produce our crop. And some of the herbicide strategy was very concerning. And we've made some progress in getting some mitigation measures that make a little more sense. We're not there yet. One suggestion is if you're close to an endangered species habitat, you would have to cut the rate of your pesticide. Well, we all know that that'll just lead to herbicide resistance. So we don't want to do that. One thing they suggest is if you apply a product, you could till it into the soil. Well, we're trying to move to more no-till, less disruption of the soil.
Right.
So that wouldn't work. The real frustrating thing is they haven't done the due diligence to determine what impact all the different pesticides would have on all the different species. There's 1,700 species on the endangered species list. There's about 27 species that are in this first round of restrictions, and they haven't really assessed what a product's impact may be on a species. So they're just assuming that it would be a negative impact. We are working with them. They are receptive, and we're seeing some movement. Too slow in our minds. So hopefully we can get it to the point where we can continue to use the pesticides safely as we always have, but then meet the requirements of the Endangered Species Act.
There it is. That's why all the frustration. But I guess the good news is, and worth repeating again, that this is just a draft at the moment. Really haven't gotten down to the point where we've got a herbicide strategy that's cast in stone. At the moment, it's just draft.
However, the clock's ticking. They're under court order to move forward with a strategy. So they're feeling the pressure. Of course, we're feeling the pressure too, and we're putting more pressure on them to find mitigation measures that work. Some of it just not workable.
Common sense needs to really kind of be the order of the day. Steve Howell is our Senior Director of Industry Affairs with the Indiana Soybean Alliance and the Indiana Corn Growers, and it's always great to have a conversation. Steve, thanks for your time. Sure appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Rob.
Podcasts by Federated Media.